agent wondering how to actually grow your production in today's market, you are in the right place because most agents are struggling to get a deal across the finish line, and our panelists are doing the exact opposite.
I thought this week was great, Raquel. I thought the guests brought it. I thought they shared a lot of the things that they're actually doing that's crushing it. And some of it was very aspirational, like, man, I want to do that. Some of it was just inspirational, like they're totally crushing it. But either way, I think agents will find some value.
The most important thing that I took away from today's session was that these guys are action takers. They move fast. They are taking action in their business. They are mastering their systems. They truly run their businesses like true entrepreneurs, true CEOs. So their systems are on lock, and man, oh man, are they ever consistent. And they do not let any market conditions or any circumstances rock the consistency in which they're executing in their business.
So grab a notebook and enjoy this episode. We are excited for all of you guys to be here on this Monday morning. If it is the first time you are joining Rocket Fuel, welcome, welcome. This is open to everyone because we truly believe that real estate isn't a solo sport. It is built on community and shared knowledge within our industry with like-minded people. So every Monday, our goal is simple. Go ahead, Amy.
No, I just said I love it.
Yeah, every Monday, our goal is simple. It's just to share fresh ideas with all of you guys, real strategies, bring people and the energy you need to start your week on this Monday with clarity and momentum. And today's topic is going to be top producers tell all. So whether you're a solo agent, if you've seen some of our marketing, or a team owner, we know that we have something for you today. And what's really awesome about today's panel is that they are boots on the ground selling real estate in today's market. So we've got three powerhouses pulling back the curtain on exactly what they're doing to grow their business. And before we kind of get into that, I want to turn it over to Amy and Joe, who always give us an update with our industry news to make sure you're ahead of the curve. Joe and Amy, take it away.
Good morning, everybody. I'm coming to you live from a new place. I needed more light on my face, make myself look a little bit younger. So that's news number one. So a couple of things, guys. Last week was a tough week for a lot of us. And I just wanted to share how much it meant to me that everyone, for the most part, everyone in my world was sharing light and brightness in a very dark week. So like, great job, people. It's like it restored my faith in humanity, which was highlighted by on Friday, AIM, Porter got engaged. And I called him and I just said, hey guys, I feel like the Grinch right now. I called him and his fiance, and Porter was like, what are you talking about, Dad? And I was like, I feel like my heart grew one more size, and I allowed room for one more kid in my life. So we're super excited about that.
That's such a cool thing to have happen in your family. And we were just talking in the waiting room with one of our key guest speakers today. She's engaged. And so what an exciting season of life to be going through, Joe, for you and your family.
Well, and if you follow me, which I don't blame you if you don't.
Actually, people should follow you. You post awesome content.
I'm great. Yeah, I think
Seriously.
I'm great. The post I made to congratulate them to go back to point number one, which was love wins. And I do believe that love wins. All right. So industry news, one piece of tech news I wanted to share with you guys. I got to play golf with my guy, Jordan Rossman, last week, and Jason O'Keefe, who almost died, but thankfully he's here. He rolled a cart into a bunker. He's doing great. Jordan turned me on to Whisper Flow, WISPR Flow, which if any of you have ever gotten a text message from me that doesn't make sense, it's because I love to do voice to text. And if any of you guys are voice to texters, specifically to clients and things like that, you know how wrong it could go. I've told people to go F themselves. I've done all kinds of stuff that I didn't mean to say. So Whisper Flow.
For anybody who knows you knows that is definitely texting gone wrong.
So Whisper Flow is a great app that Jordan turned me on to, guys. If you're doing a lot of driving, text to text, talk to text and stuff, check out Whisper Flow. It gives you a lot of, it'll take, I can just talk to it for a minute. It'll put it all together. It'll make it make sense. It'll categorize. It'll put in commas and punctuations and all that stuff. So one little piece of tech advice, guys, check out Whisper Flow, specifically if you are a talk to texter. Now, last piece of news, AIM, Wednesday's a big day, both in the States and in Canada, because the Bank of Canada and the Fed is going to be doing a rate announcement. They're going to be talking about interest rates moving forward. What are you guys anticipating or seeing, or obviously hoping for, AIM up north?
Yeah. I mean, it looks like we'll probably have a bit of a drop here in Canada, and maybe again one or two more times this fall. But really, most economists, most experts are saying that they're not sure that even this rate is gonna move the needle, because affordability is the major factor. Even not even just in the housing market, just like groceries alone, gas alone, like shelter, like all the things are just so expensive right now. And so we're hopeful for a drop. If you're here, you know what I'm talking about. We're hopeful for that drop, but it's hard to say whether that's going to be the needle mover to kind of stir the market. What about you guys?
We need it.
Yeah.
There was a revised jobs report. It's interesting, during election years, it's hard to trust what comes out, right? And there was a jobs report issued right before the election that now has been revised, that there were 1 million less jobs created than what was stated. We feel like that's helping. The jobs reports in America haven't been great, and I'm no expert on all this, but I try to learn it enough. So the anticipation is that rates will continue to drop. Now, as of right now, rates in America are the lowest they've been in 11 months, which is huge. And we talked about this last week. When you combine that with rising inventory, like we're heading into, like if any of you guys have ever watched Twister, the original or the reboot, you know that they watch for like storm elements, like elements that are coming together to create a storm. And what I'm seeing, and I'm interested to hear from Reilly and Sara and Jillian, what I'm seeing is the elements needed to create this perfect storm of, we have inventory, which is something we never really have in low rate environments, and we get better rates.
Yeah.
That will create this massive opportunity, not for people hopping into the industry right now or for people who took the last 3 years off, but specifically for you guys who've been grinding for the last 3 years through a relatively challenging market. Now we're going to go like, holy crap, rates are decent, inventory's there. So it's not a low rate, low inventory, high inventory, high rate environment. We can run into a good rate, good inventory environment, which will be awesome.
Well, and I think at the end of the day, the number one thing that we as real estate professionals have to remember is that regardless of what happens, regardless of what reports say, what rates do, whatever's going on in the economy around us, we have the ability to control the market, to control our market with our mindset, how we spend our time, the skills that we develop. I love the fact that we're able to take complete control. And so we don't, all these things are factors, but they don't actually have to control the value that we deliver and the income that we can derive from this career opportunity that we have in front of us.
People are still getting divorced. People are still getting married. People are still having children, right? That's who's buying homes right now. I will say, on a funny note, heading to New York in December, and I hit up my guy Thane Jasperson, the only remaining original Hamilton cast member. He's still there. Texted him last night like, hey bro, I'm coming out, let's go to dinner, I want to see the show. And he was like, yeah, let's do it. So we're going to go see Hamilton. Great play on Broadway. I got my guy Thane. He plays Samuel Seabury, if you guys have seen the play. And Amy, what you're talking about is like Thane, no matter what happens on the stage, he has to go, right? He has to, like, things could be going crazy backstage, things could go wrong on stage, but he has to keep doing his thing.
100%.
And so whether rates go up or down or inventory go up or down, those of you who are here have kept doing your thing, which is great. I think the news that I wanted to share, or the theory I wanted to share, is I think we're just going to see a world where you doing your thing becomes so much more effective.
Yeah.
A little bit better rates, some homes to sell through inventory. So Raquel, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Love will win. Go get a really cool app. And hopefully Wednesday's a good day for all of us. But regardless, whether it's a good or a bad day, we just have to keep going.
Love it. Everyone, I want to ask you guys. I know that we have agents from all different places in North America today, as well as there's been people on this call that either have been in the business for a really long time or a very short period of time. I'm just curious, how many of you guys have felt that this year alone has been one of the most challenging markets that you've had to deal with, whether it was getting a listing sold or even taking a buyer to the finish line? Drop a one in the chat if you felt like this, out of all my years, this has been a little bit challenging. Yeah, I wanted to put that in there because I wanted you guys to all know that you guys you're not alone in this. We're all in this together. And so this is why we wanted to bring these powerhouses today so that you guys can all learn. Make sure you guys ask them questions. We'll have some time at the end. And so I want to get into the heart of today's call. So welcome, Sara. Sara is an agent from Iowa, believe it or not, who has closed 148 homes as a solo agent in 2024, right?
Wow.
And a mama of two. And she's living proof that you can have an awesome life and build an awesome business. So let's welcome Sara to the stage or to this panel. We might have to pin you, all of you guys. And then we have Reilly Nichols, who's from Calgary, who's the founder of Bricks and is one of the top teams in Canada and has sold over 1,000 homes. So Reilly, welcome, welcome. And then we've got Jillian Batchelor from Las Vegas, who has been in the business. What I love about Jillian is she's been in the business for 20 years, has sold over $1 billion, and she's still at it, still figuring out how to do things, even with the longevity in the business. So welcome, Jillian. All right, we are going to do this more fire round. So I know that all of you guys are producing at massive levels. And we'll start with you, Sara. What are you doing differently in this market that most agents aren't?
I would say consistency is huge. I try to go into every single appointment more of how can I help these people, and it's never been about a transaction for me. I got licensed in 2010, so from the 15 years ago to today, every appointment that I go on, maybe it's not their best interest to sell right now, but if I can help them and they know my clients, past and present, know that they can trust me, and I'm just consistent in what I do. And even when I get really busy, I try not to drop the ball in any of the customer service type things that I do.
Give us an example of something that you do consistently.
So I have a system basically that whether it's a buyer or a seller, we have a checklist of everything that happens in the transaction. And all of us, of course, know how to get a buyer under contract and get them to closing. But I think a lot of our clients don't understand really what happens behind the scenes. So I get really frustrated if my sellers or buyers have to ask me a question. I feel like I should always be prompting them so that they know what's happening next. So we try to be consistent in our check-ins, our here's what's happening, our over-the-top customer service. And what I mean by that is my dad was a realtor and taught me that if you can create raving fans, you'll never have to buy ads. And I guess when I think about that, I know when I check into certain hotels or you go to a certain restaurant and they just give over the top customer service, it's not so much about just getting a buyer or seller all the way to the closing table. It's what happens throughout that process. And then maybe going above and beyond to what a lot of agents don't do.
Amazing. Jillian, what about you?
So I would say, okay, so I don't want this to come off wrong, but like when people are talking about like, has this been a harder year? I definitely think it's been a different year. The last 2.5 years have been a different year, right? But I would say, and I don't want this to come off wrong, it hasn't really been a harder year for us. Like I have agents on my team that have made more money. I have a girl on my team that gave birth to a baby in July. She's 27. By May 1st, she made more money this year, almost double than she made the entire last year. So for us, I have stories after stories like that on my team. I have 5, 6, 7 agents that had already doubled their income by June that they made last year and made good incomes last year. So for us, it's all been mindset. We did a lot of mindset training, which I'll be honest with you guys, and Raquel, you know this, I never coached before, which was a huge miss. You guys, that was huge, 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 huge miss. I thought coaching was like for people who weren't motivated or weren't disciplined or didn't know what they were doing. Totally wrong mindset, totally messed that up. And so I finally hired a coach this last year for the team, and it is like taking us like to the next level. So it's a lot about mindset. We're coaching consistently twice a week minimum with our real estate coaches. And that has been like life altering for the agents that I've seen dial in, not just their business, but I mean, they started investing. They're getting into shape. Some of my agents stopped drinking. Some of my agents have stopped smoking. Some of my agents have stopped other things that maybe weren't healthy as well, and really just changed their entire life. So wealth, health, money, everything. So for us, yes, it's been a different year. It's not easy. I don't want to pretend it's easy, but I don't think the market's bad at all. I mean, I've already made more money this year than I made all last year too. So, I mean, it's
Amazing.
out there. The possibility is there, is all I'm trying to say.
Amazing. Reilly, what about you?
I'd say to kind of dovetail on what Jillian said, like there's a lot of uncertainty in the world right now. There's a lot of noise in Canada and the US, and I think it's really easy to get distracted and fixated on all of the negative that's in the world. And as agents, we all know the activities that we need to do. We need to be servicing our clients at a high level. We need to have good process. We need to have good systems. And a lot of these things are already apparent, and we know that we need to get them done. And I think it's a lot more difficult to do some of the things that we know when we're distracted by all the noise that's out there. So for me personally, I make sure that I'm locked in. You know, my health is on point, my routines are on point, my sleep schedule is on point. All these little levers that make me efficient are things that I'm always focusing on. And when there's a lot of noise on the outside, I typically go inward to make sure that I'm doing good and I'm avoiding burnout. Because the thing with agents and real estate, like it's about the long game and being consistent over a long period of time. And if you can stay resilient mentally and physically and spiritually, and however you stay locked in, then you're going to be able to execute and work with clients at a high level. Because if you show up to an appointment and you're burnt out and you're competing against a bunch of other agents that are top notch, it's a good chance you're not going to get that listing. If you're showing up to a buyer's appointment and you're burnt out, same kind of thing. But if you're continuously operating at a high level, those appointments are going to be easier. The conversations are going to be easier. The open houses are going to be easier. You're going to want to make content. So I would say, to dovetail on what Jillian said, like focus on going inward when there's so much distraction and noise out there, and you'll be able to have that longevity even in a challenging market. Like Joe said, it doesn't matter what's going on in the market. If you plan on having any sort of long tenure in the real estate industry, you need to be able to stay resilient every single day. And the consistency is going to outweigh anybody who has a high level of talent over the long term.
Yeah. So we heard consistency. That hasn't changed, right? Mindset, resilience. Like those were the three things that I got from what our panel said today. So let's think about where are you guys getting deals? Well, some are, struggling to get deals. Where are most of your deals coming from today? And then Joe, if you want to add.
Yeah, my question for each of you guys is just like, how are you creating conversations? Like Jillian, I think runs a Zillow Flex team. Reilly, what are you guys doing to create conversations for yourselves and for the agents in your world that can lead to? And I think Sara talked a lot about reputation management. I'm just curious what you guys are doing to create conversations that lead to deals.
One of our big things is, we've had a very big database that we've been building over a long period of time. So every conversation that we have with local business interviews that we've done, or lead generation, or open houses, or referrals, or builders, everything has always funneled into a database that we manage and we, work on a consistent basis. So whenever we need more production, we typically go into that database and we're nurturing it constantly all the time. I know that database can produce us at least 100 units a year just from working that database consistently. And then all of the bonus stuff comes on top from social media, your sphere of influence, and people you've worked with in the past. We have a couple builders that we represent that also brings us some good volume. But I would say one of the lifebloods is having that organized database. And there's like 40,000 people in there. Some of them I don't even know who they are and I've never talked to. But I know that the larger that our database is and the more we continuously add to it, it's easy to get transactions from there. And maybe we'll talk to someone and maybe they're not the person who's going to transact. But if we focus on the relationship first and we're building a relationship with that person, we get referrals from leads that we don't even do business with just because they like us and our tone and how we work. And I might talk to a lead and they're like, yeah, I don't want to buy, but you sound awesome. My uncle actually wants to sell their house. So in a nutshell, like you guys should all have some sort of database where you're collecting all these conversations that you have. Because if you talk to 2,000 people a year, but you have no way to organize or track them, you're going to miss out on opportunities just from lack of organization.
One of the things that we're doing actually with our, can I jump in for a second, Reilly?
Yeah, go ahead.
One of the things that we're doing with our team, I'm doing this myself in my own business, is that we're actually delineating on the type of conversations that we're having. And I see one of my business partners on the screen, Tara West. Like we talk about this all the time. That when you're having conversations, if you wanted to have a true clear picture of your pipeline, and at North Group we preach pipeline, like we know exactly who's going to transact in A, B, or C pipeline, is delineate between a term that we use called determining motivation, ability, and willingness. So those are real estate related conversations. Like you're actually talking to them about their motivation, their motivation to move, to buy or sell, their ability, their financial status, and their willingness. And by willingness, you can probably get out of them their time frame and things like that. Or are you having a relationship and a rapport building conversation? They're two very different things, because as agents, our goal is to keep having more and more conversations, but they're not always real estate related conversations. They're strictly just to nurture the relationship, build rapport, and then eventually get to be able to determine motivation, ability, and willingness as it relates to real estate. So one of the things that's been very impactful for us is delineating between those two and tracking them, because pipeline is determined by conversations, motivation, ability, and willingness. Relationship and rapport building leads to that. So I don't know if that might be helpful for somebody here today as it relates to your numbers and the conversations that you're having. And Joe, you always preach knowing your numbers and knowing that even that formula that you shared at the production mastery event last week, it all stems to number of contacts and conversations.
Yeah, I think the challenge is in an increasingly digital and disconnected world, the people who are able to have conversations that matter are going to win. And from a statistical standpoint, I won't go through all the boring math, but the reality is for an average real estate agent, the number of conversations they have every day is a really great predictor of their annual production. So if you're having 15 conversations a day, you will generally end up with about 15 units per year. Now, some people are way better and whatever. So like Angie Lauer, for example, Ange may have 10 conversations on an average day, or she probably has way more. She probably has 30 conversations on an average day, but she'll do 60 units. So it's like, you've got to know your own numbers. But what drives me crazy, and Sara DeWulf, you may have some thoughts on this, but what drives me crazy is people saying like, oh, my annual production is 50 units. And then you go, well, like how many buyers and sellers potentially you're talking to on a daily basis? And they're like, it depends, sometimes one, sometimes two. And I'm like, how on earth are you going to, you'd have to be I used to say LeBron James, but I think Michael Jordan's better. You'd have to be the Michael Jordan of conversion to have 3 conversations a day lead to 50 units of production. So Sara, is that something you guys track at all, is how often you or your agents are conversing with people?
Yeah, absolutely. And for me, really early on, I realized how important top of mind awareness is. And I go on appointments all the time, just like you guys, that I can see in the MLS who sold them this house. And then I get there and they say, oh, we had a really nice agent, but I can't remember who she was or what her name was. And I just realized I never want that to happen. So a big compliment, or one of the nicest compliments that someone says to me is, oh, we see your name everywhere. And I love that, because yes, they're seeing my signs in yards as they drive around, but it's also social media, and I send out mailings, and we're doing client appreciation events. And every single year doing the same thing and having these conversations daily, 10, 15 conversations. And it doesn't have to be, oh, who do you know that's looking to buy or sell? It's really more of building that relationship, and yes, letting them know what you do for a living, but really, how can I help? Do you ever need someone, painter recommendations, plumbers? We know all the good referral systems. So I love when my past clients reach out and maybe they don't need to sell a house right now, but they still want my opinion on who I trust for XYZ.
Well, it becomes intimidating when we think we have to, like, in order for me to have a conversation, I need to talk to a Ma today. When in reality, you're going to talk to everything. You're going to talk to some people who are ready, willing, and able. You're going to talk to some people who say, hey, Jillian, your agents keep calling me. How about you go screw yourself? You're going to talk to everything in between. And it's just about getting in the reps and having the conversations, because the one sure way to not have a business in the future is stop talking to potential clients. Jillian, do you guys track that with your agents?
Yeah, we do. And the thing is like it's become more consistent than ever. And in the beginning, I'll tell you guys, I wasn't great at tracking. Tracking is the key to everything. You want to lose weight, you want to whatever you want to invest more money, you want to make more money. Tracking is the key to everything. So we weren't always great with that. And like what you're saying is that now when we're calling, see, we used to call, I think we did everything wrong in real estate that you could do. We used to call and just call people and be very like meat and potatoes. Like, hey, it looks like you're looking for a house. What are you looking for in a property? How big, square footage, price, whatever. Now it's completely different. The conversations don't even sound like that. Now the conversation is, hey, Sally, so you're thinking about moving to Las Vegas? And we dive into their why. What makes you want to live in Vegas? Oh, is it the school districts? How many kids do you have? We start like really diving into who they are as a person. We want to get to know them as a person. We're not asking those really tactical, specific questions until like maybe later on, but we're really getting into their why. I mean, because we want to build that relationship. And then when you're saying about calling clients, literally, I'm the same thing. So I want to be the mayor of my city, the real estate mayor of my city. So, but I want you to call me for everything. I have clients call me because they want to know, a year later, what's the best dog sitter? That has nothing to do with real estate. It's not related. One of the things I do, I'll give you guys a little trick right now that's coming up. So for Valentine's Day, for Mother's Day, for big holidays like that, I will call about 3 months ahead before the holiday and I will make dinner reservations at a whole bunch of different restaurants in Vegas. There are some really hard restaurants to get into, some really, like, for example, last night there was a fight, or Saturday night there was a fight in Vegas. And I was calling and I was making reservations at a bunch of different really cool hip spots for the fight. And then I would call some of my top clients and I would say, hey, do you have a reservation for the fight? I'm not paying for anything, you guys. I'm letting them pay to go. I'm not paying for their dinner reservation. Or I'll call a bunch of the like top clients. I'll call the husbands. Hey, I got 5 dinner reservations at the top restaurants in Vegas for Valentine's Day. Would you like me to give you one of those? And a lot of times I'm just being of service. And they're like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. I've been so busy. I haven't been able to get a dinner reservation. This is the hottest, newest restaurant. So because we're calling with value, I'm not even asking real estate questions. People are realizing like, oh yeah, Jillian's my go-to for everything. I want to be your go-to. If you want to know who's the best OBGYN in the city, I want to be your go-to for every single thing related to Las Vegas. Because then when you're talking to me, you're going to remember I'm a realtor. It's just naturally going to come up. And we're teaching our agents the same thing. Be the mayor of your town, provide value, call for non-real estate related things. So you're not being salesy, you're just being valuable.
So good. So good. Okay. So I have a question because I know all of you guys are listing agents and have put houses on the market. And this is a question that came is what are you guys doing right now? Or if you've changed anything at all in your process to get listings to sell?
So can I hit on that one real quick?
Go ahead.
So I'm definitely still in production, but I'm primarily a listing agent. Like me personally, I think I've closed like 50 listings right now this year, and I have maybe 20 or 30 on the market that are my personal production. So, and I do some buyers, but it's definitely more like 75-80% listings, and the rest are buyers. Listings are completely different because in our market and everybody's market, I'm pretty sure things have slowed down. It used to be you could just list your home and then it would sell immediately. So the first thing I do is set the right expectations with the client. I don't go in, I don't oversell myself. I don't say, hey, this is going to sell in a week. Everyone, your house is beautiful. I set the right expectations. I really dive into the data. I show them the data, how long it's going to take to sell your home based on my predictive analysis. Then as far as marketing goes, we're doubling down on marketing, you guys. There's no joke that the real estate market has changed. We are doing all the things, creating the websites and doing the digital prints and doing the advertisement and running ads and doing billboards and just really just trying to doing the videos, the fun videos, the funny videos, the serious videos, the 3D videos. So we're really doubling down on what we're doing for marketing to make these properties sell. We're having conversations with our clients every week based on the traffic or lack thereof of activity, so they can see where pricing is. And we're really watching our market closely. I dive into our data of our market every single week. I know weekly in Las Vegas, there's roughly about 1,100 homes being listed, but there's also about 1,200 homes a week that are having price reductions. And I know that the average price reduction a week is going to be about 2.5% to 3%. So we need to watch that market. I know that inventory is rising about 500 homes a week in Las Vegas. And I know that if we go a month on the market, now inventory has risen by 2,000 homes and we're only closing 2,000 homes a month. We just added an extra month onto selling your home. So we're keeping in contact with all of our clients weekly, letting them know what's happening in the market so they see what's happening to adjust. And then we are seeing price reductions. So we're going to our clients and letting them know. Here's the big thing. I've been in real estate 20 plus years, and my mom was a realtor. I was always taught how you comped a property was you looked at the last home that sold that was similar like style, and it was that price plus some. The way that you comp a property today, you guys, is it's that price minus some, even if the house is better. We're in at least in Vegas, we're in a declining market. It's slightly declining, but where I see agents make a huge mistake is they look at the comps and they're still pricing them the way that we priced homes for the last 15 years. This is the first time we've been in a buyer's market in 15 years. So you do not price your homes like you do for the last 15 years. So if you're doing it that way, you're doing it wrong. I'm sorry, I'm just gonna tell you guys. You need to look at the comps and then it's that price minus some is today's price.
Yeah. Sara
So,
and Reilly, go ahead.
oh, so quick question, Jillian. The hardest thing in the world to do is be be honest with someone, especially when that honesty is hard. So I like your strategy. It's great. And I don't doubt that you have the brass to give it to somebody. But how do you tell somebody the hard thing when you know what they're going to want to say is, well, my neighbor sold for $1 million, so I'm sure 1-1 because my house is way better. How are you delivering that content to them to say, hey, just so you and I are on the same page, right? Like, what's your
So
quick explanation?
pricing is the last thing I discuss. We don't have a pricing conversation. And I used to, back in the day, I used to email people CMAs up front. I don't do that. You don't get a price from me until I walk through and see your home because I can't price your home until I see it. So the first thing I discuss is data. I want to show them what the data is. And this is not an emotional decision. And I tell them all the time, I would love to sell your home for $1 million. The more money you make, the more money I make. But the data shows that this is the market that we're in. And if we want to sell today, here's how we're going to sell it. We need to price you based on, what is happening in the market. So the first thing I do is I go over data and I go over the ability of like how many buyers are in the market. And so I'm looking at that nutrition rate. I present the nutrition rate before I ever discuss pricing. I produce the amount of homes that are actually having price reductions in their zip code before I ever go over pricing. I go over days on the market before I ever go over pricing. And then the other thing I say to them, and this is a famous line, you guys might want to write this one down. I love it. I would say, do we want to list your home or do we want to sell your home? Because I can only work for you if we're going to sell your home. Any agent can list your home. But what I don't want to do, and this is what I actually say, I say, I'm like an attorney. I don't get paid unless I actually sell your property. And my reputation is really important to me. So I can't take a bunch of overpriced listings and I can't take some properties that are not going to sell. See, I want to be here because I want to help you achieve your goals. And this is where I'm going back into their why, you guys, right? Because everybody says it's price, but it's really not for most people. It's most they want to move on with their life. They're getting a divorce. They need to downsize. They want to move out of state. They want to get closer to family. So I really focus on the why because they're going to tell you it's price, but it's not price. They're moving for a reason. Either they're upgrading their life, something's happening. So I keep circling back to why when they go over the price. And I say to them, what is the opportunity cost if you don't sell your home? If we do this for 6 months and we start chasing down the market and you can't get to Texas, you can't get there for that job transfer. You can't get there to your aging mother. You can't get closer to the grandkids. What is that opportunity cost going to cost you? Is that more important than the $20,000 that we think is in the market or the $30,000? And then I also tell them, look, if we're underpricing it, buyers will see that and you will get multiple offers. So you won't be able to underprice your home in Las Vegas's market. Things are still moving. But what you don't want to do is overprice your home and then chase the market down. Also, I also say to them, and I'll wrap this up, but the longer you're on the market, I said, think about it if you were a buyer, Mr. Seller. If I go to show you a home and it's been on the market for 6 months and it's had 3 price reductions, are you going to offer them full price? No, and you're going to expect that they would have taken another price reduction. Whereas if I show you a home that's been on the market 4 days and is priced appropriately, are you going to offer them full price? You're much more likely to, right? So what we don't want to do is we don't want to lose the buyer in the market by overpricing a home. So I have that conversation with them and I slow that down and I get a little more,
No,
deep.
I think what's great that you're doing is the greatest respect we can pay someone is to just tell them the truth.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I think people really respect truth tellers. Now, there is tact to it.
Yeah.
Like, you can't just walk in and go like, hey, Julie, I know you love these curtains, but they're disgusting, right? Like, it doesn't work that way. But I love that you're paying the people the respect to show them the numbers and tell them the truth. I think super.
Yeah, Sarah and Reilly, do you guys have anything to add, that anything that you guys are doing differently?
Same as Jillian, that it's a lot of education and knowledge. And when I go to a listing appointment and I tell them, hey, because a lot of times we don't know what we're walking into. The comps can show one thing, but does it smell like cat pee everywhere, or has it been gutted and it's the most updated house you've ever seen? So I start by telling them, hey, let's do the grand tour. I already have kind of an idea of value in my head, but as we're walking through, I'm going up and down based upon what the master or the primary bedroom or the basement looks like. And then I sit down and educate them as well. So I'm looking at solds, but I tell them that, hey, these are great for appraisal purposes, and that's what someone was willing to pay at this time based on those market conditions. And then I pull a pending report so that they can see, okay, here's what's happening right now in your neighborhood. Here's average days on market. Here's high end, low end. But at least here, what I'm telling people, the best way to price something is by looking at our active competition. Most buyers are going to get pre-approved to a certain point, and they want to look at multiple houses within that. So we go house by house as far as what they're up against. And okay, do you think this house is nicer than yours when it has a brand new kitchen and bathrooms? And so when they can really see it on paper and live on the pictures, then it's really a lot easier to help justify price when they're seeing it live for themselves.
Yeah, so good. Reilly, do you have anything else to add?
Yeah, I just want to point something out for everybody. Like it's funny when you talk to three different people in three different markets that are all producing at a high level, that are all going to have very similar characteristics of what they're doing. Because again, like what Jillian and Sarah have talked about is identical to what we're doing. You know, you walk into the house, you want to go through the macroeconomics. So what is happening in Vegas or your state or your province as a whole? What is happening with supply and demand? And then we're moving into the micro stuff, which is, okay, what's happening in your zip code? What's happening on your street? And like everybody is saying too, it is strictly data and numbers, but when people are selling their house, it's strictly emotional for the most part. So it's how do we bridge the gap between, we're looking at it from a non-emotional standpoint because we don't live in this house. We care about them and we have empathy because we want them to get the best price, but we also need to be cognizant that the market is only going to accept a price that the property is worth. And we're in a similar market right now where we've shifted from a very heavy seller's market with very low inventory, and we've shifted into a buyer's market where things are sitting and there's price reductions across the board. So a big thing that we're doing right now, and we're having a conversation, is like Jillian talked about attrition and what's happening with supply and demand. We need to be pricing ahead of the market. And that's a very important conversation to have with clients right now, because if we're pricing too high and we're in a declining market, and we sit for 30 days, well, now we're already behind the eight ball. And we need to look at stuff that is sold recently, because people that need to sell more are going to be dropping their price quicker, and they're going to be setting new benchmarks in that neighborhood. One of Joe's questions, like, how do you have that hard conversation with a seller? I've talked about this weird word for like years, and I always come back to it. And it's called dempathy. It's my made up word that I love. And it's the ability to be direct with somebody, but also have empathy. People in sales really respect you if you can be direct, but you also need to be aware of the person that you're speaking with, because sometimes their personality does not respond to being very direct. But when you can be direct with somebody and honest, but you can do it in an empathetic way where they know that you care, then it becomes very easy to have those difficult conversations. One other little thing that you guys can do in today's market to help have that edge at the same time too is be honest with them on improvements that they can do to get them more value. If their lights are shit, tell them, hey, I think it would be a good idea for us to change those light fixtures. I think it would be good to get our designer in there and talk about staging and how we can actually optimize this place. There are a lot of agents that are selling at a high level that have been in the business for a very long time, but they get complacent and they get lazy. And we take listings all the time from agents like that, because they'll walk in, they'll price something, they'll list it, but they don't give any feedback on what could be done to actually increase the value of the property. We always suggest painting if it needs to happen. We always suggest staging. We'll refer cabinet guys, flooring, and I have zero issue waiting 2 months to bring something to market if I know that we need to do some work and some repairs, because I know ultimately they're going to get better value and they're going to trust me in the long term. Joe Mama, what you got?
Well, I think so much of this is awesome. I think you guys have all shared amazing things. I think the thought that I had come into my mind was that in relation to fitness, a body at rest wants to stay at rest and a body in motion wants to stay in motion. And I hope all of us have a recognition that everything you guys are talking about is very tactical, incredibly practical, but highly motion driven. You guys are doing things, you're having the conversations, right? And like, I just hope all of us on this call and all of us who have influence on agents that are not on this call are able to help remind them, like, I do think there's going to be this, well, I've been driving Uber for the last 6 months, but okay, the market's getting better. I'm going to hop back in. That's so hard to do. We need to be doing the things now that if the market does improve, we have that much more the advantage because we've already been in motion. And so what I love beyond the tactics and the practice is that you guys are just doing things. And so you're going to continue to crush it at like such a like elevated rate because you're doing the thing. And so guys, even if you've been doing the thing and not getting the results that they're getting, keep doing the thing, because when the market does get even slightly better, you're going to notice the same amount of effort is going to yield a much greater result so long as you've been putting in the effort to begin with.
Amazing. Amy?
No, I was just.
Can I just?
Yeah. No, sorry. Go ahead. Riley, go.
I just wanted to answer. Kim had a question in the chat. Says, how do you combat the seller mindset of thinking it's in their best interest to hire a local agent? I have a listing appointment tomorrow and could use some tips. So it's funny, Kim, because like we dealt with this literally last week. So the local agent came in, they listed the property for 3 months. She like has full market share of this little niche neighborhood, and we're like an hour away from this place. And the agent didn't sell it. And to my previous example, she came in, she thought she was hot shit. She signed the listing. She didn't do anything as far as like proper marketing or exposure. She didn't suggest any staging, any painting, anything. And we came in after and we gave her honest feedback on everything, pricing, staging, work that needs to get done. I suggested we need to change the carpets. We need to do some baseboards. We should change these light fixtures. We should be priced at this level. And the other thing with the local market expert, especially if you're in like a smaller niche neighborhood, typically they're only going to have exposure to that specific locale or market. And they always play in their backyard, but they don't really get the exposure outside of that local market. When you have someone who's a proficient agent and they're good at what they do, and they have knowledge of that market, so it's not like they're completely blind, but they have exposure to the feeder markets that will feed that local market, you can really lean on the fact that you can get more exposure, even if you're maybe a little bit further away than just that one person who's totally niche down in that market. And I told the seller too, I said, you know what, if we list the house, the other agent that you previously listed it, she might bring the buyer. You know, she works a lot here. It's possible that she might bring the buyer, but we're going to be able to get you a lot more exposure because we have a little more pull in all of the feeder markets that are around here. And we were honest. We're like, I don't know this market as well as she does. It's pretty easy for me to go through the data, but I know damn well we're going to get a lot more eyeballs on your house and we're actually going to get the job done. And she's like, okay, where do I sign? And I'm like, okay, here you go. Right. So that's a little tip that you can do if you're dealing with the local expert, right?
I think Tony said it best in the chat. I love what you're saying, Riley. He said buyers are not local. 97% of buyers are starting their search online. So if you can show the value of how you're going to attract those buyers, then that really easily combats the local market.
Especially if you're a part of a national brokerage. There's many of them, right? Like to be able to say like, oh yeah, no, I'm with KW or I'm with Real or I'm with EXP or I'm with whatever, to be able to go like, there's tens of thousands of us across all of North America. So just when you hire me, just understand you're hiring 50,000 people, because everyone I know that has a potential buyer looking at the market, your home is my priority.
All right, so we are going to go into our fire round like session of like questions and answer, and then I'll open it up for everyone that has any questions to ask our panelists. So Jillian, we'll start with you. Finish the sentence. In 2025, agents who win will be the ones who
are consistent with their follow-up and conversations with clients, for sure.
Sara?
Agents are, sorry, repeat the question. That was going to say what Jillian said.
In 2025, agents who win will be the ones who
work the hardest and get their systems in place and set up things so that as the market does start to pick back up, you're ready to go and you're not scrambling on the details. So what you set up now, if you're a little bit slower, will only help you in the future as it starts to get busier.
Amazing. Reilly?
I would say agents that remain resilient and relentless, and you need to continue to play the long game. Stop thinking in months or weeks. You need to start thinking in years or decades, because that's how you'll actually build something big.
Amazing. Sara, if you had to start tomorrow, what's the first move you'd make to get business real fast?
I would start to do a lot of open houses, multiple every single week, and start having as many conversations about real estate every single day that you can.
Reilly?
So I wrote this down. If I had to restart everything, so I would be posting once per day on social media. I'd be doing one YouTube video per week. I'd be doing a market update video on YouTube once per week that I'm sending to my entire database. I would be doing 2 open houses every single weekend. And then I would be running some sort of lead generation campaign to just continue to fill my CRM.
Jillian?
Come up with a consistent business plan. And by that, like, just like, what Reilly just basically said, but I would come up with a consistent plan of same thing. I would do 2 open houses a week. I would be doing one every Friday, Saturday, or every Saturday, Sunday. I would make sure that I'm calling whatever my feeder markets are. I'd be calling out-of-state agents from those other markets, and I would be calling them to try to make connections to get referrals. And I would be following up with my database, and then also any groups that you're part of. If you're a part of a jiu-jitsu group, if you're on the PTA, if you're a part of your neighborhood HOA, I would start attending as many events as you can per week to get to know people, talk to people, make sure people know what you're doing, because you're new, because this is like if you're starting over, right? You're new, becoming in real estate, and start letting everybody know. Like, you need to be shouting it from the rooftops without being salesy, but letting people know what you're doing.
Reilly, favorite tool or app that you can't live without today in your business?
That's a tricky one. You know what? Something basic, turbo scan, just to scan PDF documents. Like, it's so easy. I know that sounds super basic and rudimentary, but like, I use turbo scan all the time.
Sara?
Well, shout out Raquel, but Trello still is my all-time favorite. I keep all my communication there. I have a board for just things personally that I need to do, like renew driver's license tags, kid stuff. And then I have another board that's for my assistant. We keep track of everything on Trello, so can't live without it.
Amazing. Jillian?
I use virtual AI staging all the time now because, again, I'm a big listing agent. So unless there's a reason to leave the property with vacant photos, I mean, we virtually stage everything now. If I can't really stage it, like if the owner won't really do staging.
Jillian, what's the app that you use?
I use virtual staging AI.
Okay, so for those that want to write that down. Okay, we all know that every top producer has leverage. Who's the one person you couldn't live without?
Mine is
Jillian.
our, go ahead.
Reilly, go.
I was just going to say mine is our virtual assistant team. Like, we have 6 VAs that have been with us for years, and some are transaction coordinators, some are marketing coordinators. I would treat our VA team as one unit. But like, even though they have set hours, like, I could call them at midnight and be like, hey, I need this done now. And they will get out of bed and they will do it immediately. So like, we couldn't live without our VA team. They're awesome.
Jillian?
My marketing manager. So we have a full-time marketing manager that's on staff for our team. She just produces the most legit stuff. I mean, it looks amazing. So yeah, my marketing manager.
And Sara?
I'm a solo agent, but I would say Carrie, who's my director of operations, she runs everything behind the scenes and kind of a well-oiled machine, so I'd be lost without her.
Amazing. What's the biggest learning lesson you guys have learned in the business that you guys, or one advice that you guys want to give agents today?
So real quick. So, okay, live in your database. If you're not in your database every single day, multiple times a day, live in your database and hire a coach. Like Michael Jordan sells a coach. He's the best, hire a coach.
Sara?
I would say, as we keep saying, consistency, but that's true in every single day, waking up and having a good attitude. And we live in a really weird world with a lot of uncertainty, and don't let any of that get in your way, because there's transactions that are happening every day, regardless of rates or anything else happening in the world. So go out there, have the conversations, and get the business.
Reilly?
Mine would be your reputation and your integrity with other agents, and treating other agents with respect and being collaborative and working together with other agents. Because if you plan on being a top producer in your market and selling a lot of real estate, it's a very good chance you're going to run into agents again. And in every market, the agent community is small. You might have 20,000 agents, but the people who are doing the business know of the other agents. And even from day one in my career, I just said, hey, I'm going to treat everyone with respect. I'm going to be a good agent. I'm going to work in tandem with other agents and build a really good reputation. And that has served me extremely well in very difficult, conversations and deals. And I get deals done just based on reputation, which helps a lot.
Amazing. I'm going to open it up to everyone on the call. If you have a question, either raise your hand or drop it in the chat. Amy, Joe, if you guys have questions, feel free to ask our panelists. What an awesome panel. Yes?
Yeah. So I got a
good.
question for you guys. Yeah, great job. Where are you guys spending money? So Jillian, I think you're doing Zillow Flex. Sarah, do you buy leads at all? Are you creating relationships with money? Reilly?
Mine is I spend money marketing dollars mostly going back to my sphere. So client events, mailers, that kind of thing. So I don't buy leads. I never was a cold caller, but I really do a lot better with kind of that warm handoff. So the more of the people that already know, like, and trust me, if I can keep building those relationships, it just seems to kind of compound from there.
Reilly?
We were really heavy in ops costs for a very long time, like spent
Because you
millions
don't
of
have
dollars.
Zillow in Canada, right? There's no Zillow up there.
No. But we spent, I don't know, probably $2 million on Google leads and different leads over the last, 5 or 6 years. So we have so many leads already and such a massive database. Now we're more focusing on converting the existing stuff that we have and then just bringing those people into our triangle, which would be Google, YouTube, Instagram, and database, and just kind of connecting them all together to build trust over the long term.
Well, and I was
Love
going
it.
to say that
Jillian?
really quick. Yeah, Joe. So we have Zillow Flex, but for my whole team, that's only about 20% of our business. So 80% of our business, which is definitely obviously the lion's share, it's really coming out of my database. So I've built a robust database over the years. And so one of the things where I've specifically transitioned is I started doing some more luxury. And then what I realized was a lot of my clients had luxury homes that were not in Las Vegas. Well, I'm only licensed in Las Vegas. So I was like, okay, how do I capitalize? We can always send a referral. That's great. But how do I capitalize on these deals? And so I started doing a lot of co-listings. And I learned this actually from Kofi. And so like right now I have a co-listing in Vail. It's a $14 million property, but I'm getting 1.5 points on the commission. The other agent's getting 1.5 points. We're splitting it 50-50 because I bring the client and I'm doing the marketing. I have a listing 7.5 million in Park City. Same thing. I'm getting 1.5% commission. You guys, 1.5% commission is a lot better than a referral fee if you calculate it, right? So 7.5 million in Vail. I have a $20 million one in Beverly Hills. I got a $25 million one in Pacific Coast Highway. I got a $27 million one in New York. So I'm starting to realize there's a lot easier way to make money. I'm doing the marketing of it because obviously I need an agent there on the ground level to do the showings and all of that. And I started doing that through my database. I was like, wait, I know a bunch of people and maybe they're buying my market, maybe they're not. But then how this allowed my team to benefit is because now I'm focused on more of that really top tier luxury. I'm allowing my team to get the deals out of my database that were maybe my past clients or,
Right.
all of that. And then that doesn't have referral fees and it doesn't have, I mean, we're feeding Zillow because we're keeping the giant happy, right? But again, that's only about 20% of our business. And my agents would much rather do a deal that comes out of my database that has no referral fee than it does with Zillow. So to answer your question specifically where we're spending money, I've also hired a marketing company that is going to market directly to my database. Of course, I still got to make some of those phone calls, but it's pre-recorded videos, text messages, Facebook ads, flyers, sending emails, all of that. They're just living in my database to create those referrals and to create those. And that's actually where some of my luxury deals came from. They were, just communicating with people in my database and they think it's me. And so I will make more money this year on the out-of-state co-listing deals than I will make on all of my real estate sales here in Las Vegas and my team profit.
Really quick. And so what Jillian's doing, guys, and all of us have to get there in some form. I mean, she literally just said, I'm co-listing $2 million or $200 million worth of listings. And I'm sure for a lot of us, we're like, but the key is she no longer thinks of herself as a realtor. She is an entrepreneur that uses real estate to build a financial life. And all of us have to get there. And it may not be $200 million in co-listings, but it's like, how do we think of ourselves more as entrepreneurs in every little way possible. And it may be going from $200,000 a year in GCI to $200,000 a year in GCI and 10K in a JV on a title company and some mortgage stuff, right? And it's like, how do we start thinking of ourselves as entrepreneurs and not just real estate agents? I love that, Jillian.
Jillian,
can I
what
answer one of
marketing
the
company
questions?
are you using?
Yeah, there's a couple of questions in there really quick, and so I'll answer both of them. So the first one, Will said, how do you get someone to agree to only take 1.5% if you are fully out of state? So I'll give you a perfect example, Will. So if I called you today and I said, I have a client who has a $15 million property, I'm going to fly up there. I'm going to see the, and I do. I fly up there for the day. I see the property. I walk the property. I'm going to have the relationship with the client. I'm going to be able to go for price reductions. I'm going to help market it because we do have a very a luxury database that we're marketing to, obviously through Real Luxury, but we also have some other high net worth clientele that we're marketing through. And so if I say to you, I'm going to give you this $20 million listing. Now, in a lot of markets, I know commission's not fixed, you guys, but in a lot of markets, these agents are getting 2% or 2.25% or 2.5% up front. If I'm saying I've already negotiated with the client, we're going to get 3. I'm going to take 1.5. You're going to take 1.5. But I'm bringing the client. I'm going to do all the client communications. I have the relationship with the client. I'm going to get them to lower the price if need be. Are you willing to take it? Now, if you tell me no, I'm going to say this as nice as possible. There's 50 agents in your market that will take it because they want a $20 million or $15 million listing. Plus, you might get the buy side for it, right? Plus, all of that. And
Exposure.
now, let me tell you one other thing. So this was actually one of my clients' ideas. This wasn't even initially my idea. I saw Kofi doing it and I was like, I need to do that. But it was actually one of my clients' ideas. So here was the harder part. He already had the house listed. He already had it on the market. He already had a listing agreement with an agent. He called his agent. He said, I'm bringing Jillian in. You're going to split the commission with her 50-50, or I'm just going to fire you and we'll find somebody else. Now, that was very brass. I wouldn't have handled it that way, but this was a billionaire client, and that's just how he talks to people, right? He's very direct. Again, I would have handled it with a lot more tact because I felt so bad for that agent. But in that case, she had already had the property listed for a year. It wasn't selling, and he wanted a different angle. So at that point, somebody might cancel you. And even if you have a listing agreement, are you really going to force a billionaire client to stick in a listing agreement with you? They'll just slaughter you online. Like, that's just not a good business move, right? So he would have pulled the listing from her anyways, and she would have got 0. So I know that sounds terrible, but he was ready to fire her. And I was like, let's keep her in. And when he decided to do that, I was like, bring me in and we'll help her. So in that case, that wasn't the way I would do it. Normally, if I just called you and gave you the client, it would be a little easier because you're getting access to a client that's not going to typically maybe use you anyways or whatever. The other part of that really quick, I will tell you, some of these clients are rebuying. And so when I do that, I do also tell the agent, I have a relationship with the client. I'm going to fly up there and I'm going to walk the property with them and help them buy as well. You're going to split the buy side with me as well. We're going to call that a co-buying side. So they're going to get 2 deals out of it that they might not have had, right? And I'm bringing the client, and that client's also going to bring this huge network because billionaires know billionaires, millionaires know millionaires. And so you're getting exposed into something different. And then we're going to learn off each other. I'm learning stuff off these agents in different cities. How they market is different than me. So it's definitely a benefit to me. And they're learning off me because I am actively marketing their listings. I'm putting it through my networks and things like that. And we're selling some of them too.
Who was the marketing company?
So let me give you the name for them. It is, I got to pull it up from my assistant.
While she's getting that up, a very simple script for this would be, hey, Reilly, I've got a client that's listing a home in Alberta. It may not work for you, but who do you know that'd be willing to co-list it with me? I'm going to do a lot of the marketing. I'm going to kind of direct it. And I need someone local, boots on the ground, that I would love to partner with on this. Who do you know that would do something like that? Reilly's going to go,
Why not
don't
me?
you do me? Yeah, exactly. So it's like the easiest script of all time.
Well, and here's what I thought about that too, you guys, is like, so we talked about Zillow. I'm a Zillow Flex team. When my agents do a Zillow Flex deal, Zillow is taking 35 to 40%. Yes, I'm asking to take 50%, but I'm going to manage the entire client. Zillow's not managing the client, right? They don't have that relationship with the client, and they're not marketing it. So I'm also splitting expenses with them too. So I'm also telling the agent, if I'm taking 50% of the profit, I'm going to do 50% of the expenses with you. And on these multi-million-dollar deals, I don't know about you guys, but I can spend $5,000 or $10,000 just marketing a property. So if I'm willing to split that cost with you, that also saves a little bit of your overhead. And that last one that I told you about, the one in Vail, she had it listed for a year. For a year, she had been asking him for a price reduction. I came in there, I gave him my opinion on price, and I had the price reduced in an hour. So there was my value right there to her, is like, you've been trying for a year, but you don't have the relationship with the client to get the price reduction. I just got you the price reduction. So I'm going to manage the client because I have that relationship. And I'm willing to fly to events. I'm willing, if you want to do a broker open, I'll be on a plane right now and I'll be home tonight. See, the good thing is my kids are now all grown, so I can leave on a drop of a dime in a minute. So when I flew up to Vail, he called me on a Tuesday. I flew out Thursday morning and I was home Friday morning. So like I can go immediately. So I'm going to help you. I'm not just like doing it as a referral, right? Like I'm going to actually do the work too. I'll call the agents after there's a showing. I'll get feedback. I'll be posting. Like I'm willing to do half the work too. So Zillow takes 35 or 40%. They don't do any work for you. I want to take 50, but I'm willing to do all the work too.
Amazing. Amy? Well, I know we're out of time.
I'm just really excited. Well, first of all, this was amazing. Reilly, Jillian, and Sara, thank you guys so much. Tons of value here. We've dropped the recording a couple of times, or the link to what's going to be the link to the recording. So if you guys want to go back, listen to that, take more notes, please feel free to do that. We usually have it up within 24 to 48 hours. Next week, we have a speaker who is a master educator in the social media space. But what I love about what she's going to be talking about is that she is going to be educating us on how AI is changing how people are searching and how your social media content, your messaging, your posts and things like that need to be found by AI algorithms and things like that. So this is not an area that I am an expert in, but I know I need to learn, and she is going to be a master of that. So be sure to be back here at 9 Pacific, 12 o'clock Eastern time next week for Rocket Fuel. And guys, let's give massive shout outs on social to Reilly, to Jillian, to Sara. Please take your screenshot now, tag them, share your top takeaway. And most of all, let's invite other colleagues and friends to join Rocket Fuel, where there's just so much value being shared. Have an
one more
amazing rest
quick
of your day,
oh,
guys.
Sarah, go ahead.
I was going to say one quick thing. If
Yeah.
I were an agent that were looking to get business like today, I think people sleep on expired listings. I would go back the last 2 years in your MLS or your farm, look at what's expired, send them a simple letter. I have one, so if you're an agent that wants to get more into expireds, I'm happy to send you my letter. I think Amy shared my Instagram handle, so just shoot me a message.
Amazing.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you, guys. Have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, everyone.
Appreciate you all.